Hey there. As you can imagine, it's impossible to teach IFC schema in 15 minutes. So let me get a shot at it, right? I'm going to go to skim over the most important concepts. And of course, if you want to dive deeper, I have a specific course on this, other workshops, much longer on the topic, right? But now this is the shortest possible version that's going to help you get started and understand the basic concepts. Cool. Let's start with what is this? IFC Foundation Classes. It's an OpenBIM standard by Building Smart. You can search IFC Building Smart International and you are going to find all the versions, all the documentation and everything. I'm not going to use that documentation. I'm going to use Bonsai because Bonsai is the greatest tool because it's IFC native authoring tool. So everything Bonsai does according to IFC schema. So the user interface has been built based on the IFC schema. So it's going to be easy to make you understand that. Okay, cool. The first thing, there are three main IFC versions which are used today. That's IFC 2x3, which is still the widest used to this day. IFC 4, which was supposed to be already in use, but is not by many. And then IFC 4x3, the latest one, which also includes classifications for infrastructure and many other goodies, which is the recommended way to go. But unfortunately, many tools are not there yet with the implementation. So most IFC 4x3 models suck. So that's the thing. When you create a project in Bonsai, you can use whatever version of this schema you want. And you can choose the other things as well. Cool. What's next? There is something called spatial decomposition in Bonsai, right? Which is what? Well, it describes, let me take a project, a proper project actually for this. Let me take this one. The spatial decomposition or spatial breakdown, whatever you want to call it, starts with this. And these are extremely important concepts. It starts with an IFC project. Every IFC model has to have only one unique IFC project. It's like the highest container. And after that, it pours down. Then we have an IFC site. And then we have an IFC building. And then we have an IFC building story. And then we have IFC spaces. That's all the special breakdown that you're going to need. And yeah, most of the objects, we can see that they belong to some spatial components, to the floor, like walls and so on. And maybe in the space, we can have furniture or lighting or other stuff, right? So an important concept about this is that every object can belong to only one level of spatial decomposition. So if you have a door that belongs to the floor, that will not show up if you search for objects showing in a specific space. So the same with the space. It's showing you only one level of detail, okay? So that's extremely important to remember. You cannot connect let's say one chair to a space and to a floor. It doesn't work. You have to choose only one. Good. That's one thing. Then what else? There is something called entities, everything, or classes. Everything in IFC schema, more or less, it's a class. And these three things are extremely important. Everything is fine. IFC project is a class, IFC wall, it's a class, and so on. And then from the classes, after the classes, yeah, like maybe we can see if I just go and try to create an IFC element, we can see here, if I choose to create an element itself, then we have a large list of objects that are available in this version, in this schema, you can see. But we know the most common ones for architecture and structure are IFC wall, beam, door, window, columns, pipe for MEP, and so on, like the main building elements, right? But Bonsai helps you with that. So you can see what you can use. And if you cannot use anything, the well-known IFC building element proxy. IFC building element proxies has actually been in IFC schema to offer flexibility. So it's intended to be used, but used as user-defined and use proper names so that you can keep classifying, okay? Yeah, so this is extremely important. These classes, you can classify objects in IFC schema 2 levels deep. Once you can call it a class if it's a door or a window or a floor or a slab or a window or a wall, I want to say. And then you can go one level deeper, which is predefined types. Well, these predefined types, let me show you very quickly. If you want to make an element and if you want to choose BIM, you will see here that in the predefined types, we have some called like BIM by default, and then joist, hollow core, lintel, spandrel, and so on. And you also have user defined, and you can give it its own name here, your specific name if you have a special BIM that is not included here. So that's the maximum you can go with the IFC schema when it comes to the entity itself. Like if you want to add more things and so on, yeah, we get there to the property sets. But yeah, that's extremely important. So that's the class, the entities, and using IFC entities and classes. Then we have something else. We see it here, type, right? So let me choose the house, the whole building. The first thing we see is the class itself. Then we go and we see types. These are different types. A type is something that, let's say like a window with specific material and dimensions. That's a type of window. And if you have more of them, you create a type first, and then you do occurrences. You instantiate occurrences. So that's the difference between these three main concepts. You just call it, right? Like in Revit family, you define the Revit family and then you use it in more places. That's the efficient way of using IFC. If you don't do that, then you end up with very large models, and that's not bueno. Cool. So yeah, an occurrence, it's a unique thing. It has a global ID. Everything in IFC, including an IFC project, has a global ID, which is a unique. It should be unique, at least in the model, at the model level. Yeah. So that's kind of what we have here. Then georeferencing, extremely important, especially for the infrastructure project, where you define your project coordinate system and where the things should be in the real world. Okay, so these are extremely important. Now, if we go on, then I'm going to use this object information tab. Here we have like this is the reason why you should use Bonsai. It doesn't matter if you use Solibri, you can use whatever tool, BIM, Collab, Zoom, it doesn't matter. Bonsai is still the best tool out there when it comes to IFC, because it's native IFC and it speaks only IFC, and it's going to present you the schema exactly as it is. So I clicked on a wall and we start exactly from the top. We see that we have object metadata, right? And what we have here, it's IFC wall standard. So it means that we have a class with a predefined type standard. Then we have something called attributes, and then we have the type that we talk about, and then we have aggregates, nest. We are not going to cover this, and then we have property sets. So yeah, we talked about the class and the types. Now there is other information, metadata, that is connected. All these things are connected through relationships. So that's extremely important, right? And that's why you have to use the proper kind of information. So what is an attribute? An attribute, and there is a huge difference between attributes and property sets. Attribute is a preset set of information that you can add to your object. So usually I think it's 9 or 10 different attributes that every object can have. I don't know, that can vary. But the main thing you have to remember is that you cannot add more or remove them. You can choose if you want to add values to them or not, so which one to choose, but you cannot remove global ID. You cannot remove name or tag or object type. These are there forever. You have to choose if you want to put a value there or not, which should help you in and everyone else using the models, because you classify and add more information. You make it much easier for everyone to use and for everything. So this is extremely important to understand. Attributes, you cannot touch them. You can just change their values, but you have them always there. The property sets, on the other hand, are exactly for that made. They are put there to add extra information that is not possible to put it any other place. But you shouldn't put material there. Like I could make a 1 hour rant only on the best practice. So yeah, so that's the biggest difference between attributes and p-sets. Attributes, you cannot touch them, you cannot change. P-sets, you can change them. You can create them. But extremely important, there is also another concept in p-sets. The IFC schema has some predefined p-sets, which are coming from the IFC schema itself, from Building Smart. So every time before you create a custom pset, you should actually try to use one of these. Like for example, if you have something about warranty or precast concrete, let's say this is a precast wall, of course it's not, but if you want to add that information, then you add it there. You do not create a Petrus, BIM voice, pset and so on. So there are few important concepts to understand, right? You can create as many psets as you want. There is no limitation for that. You can name them however you want. But now this is extremely important. So very important. Use the ones from Building Smart. If they are not there, when you create, never use the pset at the beginning because it's illegal. Like this, every pset. Sorry, I started saying pset, but pset means property set. So a group of properties, and each property, it's has some information. Like in this case, you see, this is a property set. So it's grouping all these properties into a set. That's why it's called property set. But each of these is called a property. So this one is a property, and this is the value. This one is the property, and this is the value, right? So again, so is not allowed to use pset underscore petru. Is not allowed. If I make a pset, I should call it BIM voice and whatever. There is a best practice guide is like to use the start at the beginning your country name and the client or actors who are involved in this. Like in this name, Norway BSN, which stands for some clients from Norway. Okay, a group of clients or one. Like doesn't matter. But that's the best practice, right? This is a proper pset name. That's how you are supposed to use, and also people should know what they find there and so on, right? The biggest problem today is that we have most people are using only psets. They don't care about the IFC class. Everything I showed you, they don't care about. Everything is unclassified or wrongly classified. They don't care about the attributes. They don't care about the proper psets, and they don't care about quantities. Which quantities? We have something called QTO, which is called quantity sets. It's the same thing, like this is quantity and this is the set at the top. This is also something by the IFC schema, and this is what is supposed to be used, but this works only from IFC 4 and above. You don't have this thing in the IFC 2x3, and you see that this is specific to the kind of object you are using. So that's why it's extremely important to actually classify our objects properly, because if we classify a wall as a slab, we're not going to get properly the quantities. Like that's a big difference. So it's extremely important. Yeah, that's another thing. Good. Again, I might maybe make a list of do's and don'ts when it comes to psets and to IFC schema. But yeah, mainly like these are the main concepts. If you repeat this, if you go through this, like these are the most important ones. And it's extremely important to use them properly to get the most value out of this project. And especially if you are a client, you have to enforce these things, okay? The last thing here is classification reference. Here is if you want to use an external system like Uniclass or whatever, you can put it in here, okay? You choose here, yeah, like that's how in Bonsai. Most of the time, well, you start from a model, you export and you do the mapping and so on. But yeah, in Bonsai, that's how you can do it, where you can do it, and that's what it does. Like you can classify your objects also according to some external system, which might be useful in maintenance, for example, right? And then another important thing, materials. Materials are also connected through relationships to this. Why it's important to have materials? I don't want to start on that, but yeah, LCA, carbon footprint calculation, being able to buy the right things, being able to build the right things and so on. Extremely important, okay? And this doesn't have to be in a custom pset as I find it all the time. No, never. No bueno. You have to put it in material as an IFC material, okay? Or under, yeah, depending. I'll not go deeper in it. But these are the main things, okay? Let me know, tell me if you think I missed something. But yeah, like these are, like if you understand these concepts, you're going to be ahead 99% of the people in the industry because they don't know the difference. I hear all the time people using parameters, attributes and properties without having any clue what they are, because they are referring to, they think, maybe they confuse also that the things coming from Revit or Tekla structures, they are interchanging, right? What is an attribute in Tekla structures might be something, it's not an attribute in IFC. I'm not sure, I don't use Tekla anymore. But like these terms are thrown away without understanding what is what, right? So it's extremely important to understand the difference between attributes and pset, on top of the classification and all these things. If you do these things, you are going to be ahead, like not only understand, but also have it in your models. Most models suck at this. Most models don't have properly classified everything. You see, this model is quite good. We saw just a little bit of IFC level proxy, which we can live without, and so on. So it's quite good detail. But on the other hand, I see a lot of information, unnecessary information. Look here how much property sets, how many property sets that don't make any sense. They shouldn't be here. They are just coming from the tool. Bad practice, right? So yeah, that's, you have it there. Like I put you, like, I think it's extremely important to start very small. Understand these concepts, reinforce them, keep using them, and you are going to be a hero, an IFC, an OpenBIM hero. See you next one. If you found this helpful, here's your next step. Join the free 7-day OpenBIM Kickstart Challenge inside the BIM Voice Academy. Get hands-on with BonsaiBIM, validate IFC models, learn how to use IDS, run quantity takeoffs. No licenses, no cost. Just a solid foundation in 7 days. Most people wait until it's too late. Don't be one of them. Click the link in the description below, scan the QR code, or go to school.com BIM Voice Academy. See you inside.